Ooh, yeah. We just making noise.
We are here.
Hey.
Okay, so we are here, guys, on Let's Talk About It.
You.
As you see, we got some special guests in here, and I'm saying we're going to give them a few minutes to introduce yourselves. So, whoever want to go first, who want to go first? Don't all hop up at once. Introduce
All right,
yourselves.
so Shannon Watt. I don't know what information can be or just my name.
Yeah, just your name and your
Okay,
favorite color.
awesome.
Your favorite color. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is purple.
There we go.
Royalty.
Hello. Hello.
Dubai.
Oh, my.
Dubai.
Jesus. Yes, I did.
Oh, eat a rutabasia. Sugar bomb.
Who next?
My name's Nicole. My favorite color is yellow.
All right. Say it in Spanish.
Amarillo.
Lemon.
That's mine.
Yeah, Mal. Talk your talk.
Your talk, son.
That's kind of mine, I'm saying.
All right.
Who next?
Okay, I'm Devonna.
The first lady of us all.
First lady.
Boy, move your feet. Go ahead.
Hallelujah.
Anyway, my favorite color is green.
Okay. Amen.
And I'm Christine Evans, and my favorite color is green.
Green.
Amen.
Come on, money.
Look at that.
What you gonna do?
Just Verde.
Yes.
Verde.
Just
quick-
Verde.
Real quick though. Everybody that's on the live, we got some people on there. If y'all can first give us some comments on how everything sounds to y'all as well.
Yes.
How everything looks, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, to us, it looks good. But.
My mic. What?
All right, so I'm going to turn it to either Kurt or Keegan to actually get started with the dialogue. All right?
Right.
Well, I guess we're here, guys. So basically, this whole live is mainly for us to talk about this crazy situation that's been happening. A lot of people believe that African American men do not support and or sometimes respect African American women, and I feel like we came here today to talk about that situation. But we have a couple of questions that we have for the girls to figure some things out. So, real quick, I want y'all to be honest. Do y'all feel supported by us as a whole, though? As a whole, be honest, be real.
We jumping right into it.
Right in.
Right into it.
Right in.
As a whole, because I hate to generalize anybody into
Put the
one
mic
thing,
up to
because of course it's not everybody. But as a whole, I wouldn't say that we feel supported or I feel supported 100% all the time. Not all the time. I think that there are moments that we're loved conditionally. So it's not always unconditional love, like no boundaries, no nothing. I feel like a lot of times we're loved or respected on the conditions that y'all set for us, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's good. The conditions that they set for us.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to that one.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Anybody else?
That's a
Go
preach
ahead,
right
Ron.
there. That's a
I'll
good preach.
piggyback off of that. And I'm not knocking anybody's experience, but I also feel like it's the type of support that you get coming up too. Because if you don't feel like you were supported, like in your community and in your family when you were raised, of course you're not gonna feel that now.
That's good.
That's good. That's good.
That's real good.
That's good. What y'all think? What y'all think? What y'all think?
I would say, as if we're talking about African American men, the ones that are present, because we do have, with everything that's going on, we do have a lot of black men who are killed, a lot of black men imprisoned. So from the ones that are not, or that are still here and functioning, I feel like there is, like Shannon said, that condition. Yeah.
No, I like this condition word. I really do. What do you think?
I agree. I feel like they set what they think that we should be, and they support what they see, like what they want, you know? But, I mean, from personally, I feel like this group, yeah, y'all support us. But in general, like Shannon said, there's a lot that don't.
Yeah. So I guess, you got something out or no?
No, I was just saying that's true.
Yeah, so I guess another question I would have, if we're gonna get real deep, so what does that look like?
So
What does
the conditions?
yeah, the conditions, because I think a lot of times, I'm gonna get really real. So I think a lot of times
Just
as
talk,
men, we don't even know what we. I'm gonna say this. I don't think we know what we want sometimes. So it's interesting that you guys said that the conditions of what we want. but we barely even know what we want.
Yeah.
So it's just
We're still
like,
trying to figure our own selves out first.
It can sometimes be the condition on what we were raised on too, what we see from our
The
mothers.
standard.
Correct. Thanks, Malcolm. That's what I was going to run with.
And if I can say, it's a bit of that too. Not to downplay it, because I totally agree with what you're saying too. But I think for some, it's a matter of like, a lot of people are always trying to fit this mold that men ourselves actually don't want. And I'm not sure why, like, that's always a narrative, like, well, you know what? I can't say that men don't want, because there are some men out there like that. There's a lot of shallow dudes, and I can't act like I don't know some.
Exactly.
Like,
Very
I'm not
shallow.
friends with someone.
Very
Right.
shallow.
So,
That's facts.
but understand, like, it's hard for somebody like us who sees the other side of it. It's hard for us to kind of grasp that concept sometimes that of this problem, because we don't think that way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I was
fair.
about to say that, actually.
That's fair to
Yeah.
say. So I think when I said conditions, so when you think of love, unconditional love, most people think like it's a family or, you know, your relationship. So your wife, your spouse, your mom, your grandma. You can love them unconditionally. Like, it doesn't matter with what your mom does. She could like be gone for 5 years, don't call you. When she comes back, that's still your mom. You're still gonna love her. But I just feel like there's conditions for what females or women in general, especially the black women. So what I mean by that, I'm saying is, if they're not in a relationship with you or they're not in arm's reach of you, do you respect them? Do you support them? The same as you do with your girlfriend or with your sister. So what I'm saying is, you're going to support us as a whole, you got to support all black women. So that means even the ones that you see across the street that might not have all together, the ones that look like they might do something late at night, you got to have respect across the board. So that's what I mean by conditions. Like, I think y'all pick and choose who's worthy of the respect from the black man. That's pretty much it.
Ooh,
Go ahead.
nah, 'cause I have like so
Dig in
many-
it.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna feel like, to be honest, like, in order to respect y'all, we gotta respect ourselves first. Because a lot of times as men, we like, and I'm speaking in a general sense, because of course we're not like that, but we don't really have standards for our own selves. Like, we see like what the world has, and we kind of like take that as, oh, we gotta be this or we gotta be that, and like, we don't really have a set place of a standard of what we should or shouldn't be, and how we should even love ourselves. A lot of us don't love ourselves, to be honest. So how are we gonna love ourselves if we like? How are we gonna love y'all if we don't love ourselves?
But that comes with the things that we're shown, like the things
Yeah.
that's put on TV, the things that's put on movies. We're just
It
doing
all
what we
falls
are
back
shown.
on that.
Yo,
Facts.
say that again. No, it comes from what?
It only comes when we are shown.
Influence.
We're shown. So
Like-
what we see on TV, so what we see in the music industry, what we see
Yeah.
like in the movies, like that's what some of us like base their life off of.
Yeah, I think like the. Oh, go ahead. Think you got something?
No, I was just gonna say, and that kind of relates to what Kurt was saying about like, you know, the shallow men that want that whatever women are trying to form themselves
Yeah.
into being, because we see that on TV. Y'all goo and ga and ooh and ah over what they're not y'all, but like they see what they see on TV and then make all these, you know, comments and stuff, and then we feel like, oh, they don't like us the way that we are. They want us to be like that.
That's
And
good.
I feel like that's how it's
That's good. This is good already. We
Yeah,
just
'cause,
started.
so one thing that I want to like talk about too though, and like we're kind of seeing the same situation though, but like what Mal said was really good, talking about how like, you know, it's what we're showing. I think everybody can agree that's what the situation is, what we're showing. But that kind of puts us in the same place. I feel like African American like people get wrapped into a stereotype, and I think a lot of times when it comes to men and women, there's a stereotype that we think that is like not necessarily mandatory, but it's around. You know what I mean? So it's like the stereotype is like, oh, like I'm gonna just be real. The stereotype as a black man, oh, I just want a big booty black girl chick. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever, like,
Facts.
or a red bone, or whatever. Like that's what I'm saying. So like this is a stereotype that like goes around, and I think like what happens is that our African American women like go with the stereotype.
go with the flow.
Like yeah, they feel like and they feel with the stereotype. And African American men do the same thing. They go with the stereotype. Not everybody, but like there are a lot of people who do kind of fulfill that stereotype. So what do I think about that? Like, as far as stereotypes go.
I hate stereotypes. Okay, the ghetto woman, the ghetto baby mom, I don't like when women give that ammunition for a man to be able to say that. And I won't lie that it's not I won't say it's not out here. It definitely is. You have people that are going to do it any way they can. But at the same time, stereotypes, I feel like you should always have an open mind in having relationships with women, friends, as relationships, anything, not to just put them in a box, because not all women are the same, just like we shouldn't put men in a box.
All right, so for me, if any of you, I don't know if y'all know me, like y'all know that I absolutely hate reality TV. Like
You and me both, bro.
it
I don't watch
grinds my
none of that.
gears. Like it makes me
Basketball-wise,
angry.
all
Like, even seeing commercials for it makes me angry. And because of it, it's like feeding into that though. And also it's like, for me, I understand like that's not real life. And we're looking at stats, like we're talking about percentages, like of the different demographics. Black women are graduating at a higher rate than anybody. They're in professions,
Anybody.
they're doing businesses, they're doing everything. And even when we go on TV, we see shows like Married to Medicine or stuff like that. We're seeing professional black women out here still showing their behinds. Like, and that's why I'm like, it's like no matter what you see, it still has to be that. And I think it's part of us. We're kind of fueling that too because we keep supporting.
I'm
it's
about to
low-key
say,
to me,
yeah,
it's-
support is gonna be there.
Yeah, it's low-key hypocritical because, like, yeah, you showing your butt, but you're also making, like, thousands of dollars for doing
And that's what I was gonna talk
So it's
on.
like,
Cause
people want to
yeah,
do that. Just like the kids see a drug dealer making all this money.
Bro.
Like, they're gonna be like, oh, I want to be a drug dealer too. So like, the girl's gonna be like, oh, she's being ratchet. Oh, I want to be ratchet too. 'Cause it
bro,
seems like
She got a
we're
OnlyFans
falling,
page. Like,
we're falling so
Hold
far.
on. I see that Pastor Joshua C. Robinson's on. We want to thank you for letting us use your.
Thank
church.
you, sir.
Thank you, Apostle.
Appreciate you.
Definitely want to thank you. Also, guys,
Overseer.
if you have any comments, please put them down. I
Yeah.
know y'all want to stay involved, like stay like in it. So put some comments down so we can see what you guys want to talk
Most
about. You know what I'm
definitely.
saying? But back onto it. Sorry.
I was gonna say, hold on. I was gonna say, going into the what you see and everything like that. Like a lot of people today, like especially like men and women. I'm not even gonna just put it on women. They're doing like the OnlyFans and all that. Like we can get into that for real. Like, I'm be honest, bro. People rather sell themselves online with pictures than actually get a real job in education. Like because they see that they make them like
That's like what I was saying
it's a
earlier.
quick buck, bro. Like
That is the minority though. Like we keep blowing that stuff up. But like I said,
bad.
like, these girls that's not the reality.
it's not the reality,
I think
and it's
for
not gonna
real-
get you that far
I
either.
think for real, the situation is that like, and I don't want to make it seem like it's a deep thing, 'cause not all African American people are like this, but like, yo, we really like kind of like that drama, yo, that stuff, that real idea, and like I'm telling you, yo, as soon we be the first ones to be petty talking about Will and Jada as like we knew them.
Entanglement.
Like Will, my cousin from last week, and that's the thing. Like we really talking about that stuff. So the thing is that like
Let's not get
when
into that.
we can, I know it's horrible, it's really crazy, but like the thing is that like if we do feed into going to college, if we do feed into going into like
facts.
situations, whatever, we can actually make things work, and there has to be a change somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I think like it's not like I say it all the time. It's not like employed anymore. Like we're not telling kids go out and be a teacher, go out and do this.
Nope.
We like, okay, you want to be a rapper, be a rapper. And I'm not knocking people that's telling people to go like chase their
Follow your
dreams.
dreams, right.
But y'all also got to be real with these kids. Like, okay, yeah, you might be good at football, but not everyone makes it there. I mean, that's what I was told. Honestly, I mean, I could have made it there, but still, you have to give that reality. Like, you got to find your plan B, or like feed into your kids, not feed into your kids, but give into your kids. So
Yeah.
like,
What would you want to say?
So I have
Well,
a
I think-
question.
she's smiling. I like it.
I have a question. Because Curtis is talking about like, and Tahim, like what we see, like what men see on social media as far as like women and stuff. It's like, it's not real, right? So why is it that men still entertain it?
That's
That's the minority.
That's the point. So,
The mic drop right there.
all right. So
Now.
my thing is, so this is something that I guess we can speak on, because that's what kind of grinds my gears. Like this whole why we're here talking about like, is there a disconnect? Like how did the relationship between black men and black women get to this point? And part of that is oh, y'all want me talking to Mike? Gotcha. All right, my fault. So part of that is just like feeding into that, because this is gonna bounce to a question I got a little bit later for y'all, but like.
It is
All
hard
right,
to
so
grasp.
part of the reason why we want to have this conversation is because there is, like, we can't deny, we can't like act like there's not, we can't sweep it on the rug. There is a big group of black men who just fall into these shallow thinkings. That's part of the reason why we kind of want to just have this conversation so people can see different and think different, you know. But it's like, I don't know, I have friends, I see it all the time, like I have friends even where if we want to like kind of touch into colorism, things like that, like, you know, everybody thinks that what they see on the videos, that, like, that's it. Like, that's what they gotta have. And all the times, like, I see people, I'm like, yo, like, sis that you with, like, she cool. What's wrong with her? She's educated. What you talking about? She's pretty. I'm like, okay.
Don't be
what's
enough.
the
They ain't
problem?
worried about that. It don't be enough
If
for
I
them.
can, if I could like touch on this real quick, not trying to be super deep and spiritual, but like I think it comes down to like lust, yo. And I'm gonna tell you why.
all it is.
Like
That's
the reason
facts.
why I say that is
It is.
because like when it gets like deep like that, yo, because one, like I don't care what anybody say, men are sexual creatures, and guess what? Women are sexual
I was about to
creatures
say
too.
humans
Thank
They
you.
be
are
loving
sexual
it.
creatures.
They be
That's
loving it. But the thing is this.
Humans.
The thing is this. Everybody's human, but like this is the thing. So like I feel like when we talk about lust, like we're talking about desires that we want, and it's okay to want sex. It's not a bad thing. But like if you do what you gotta do, get married and make everything work, you'll be fine. The problem is we can't reach that. Some people don't want to reach that. Some people don't want to do that. So they rather do other things and like be attracted to those other situations. So when a chick is like on Instagram shaking her butt 24/7, I'm like feeding a desire that can't reach physically. You know what I mean? So like so sometimes either like people love that or they find their way, find their niche in that situation, and they're feeding an appetite that's like actually supposed to be there. You're supposed to love your wife. You're supposed to like in a sense of like you're supposed to like love that aspect of them. You're supposed to think your wife is sexy. I think my wife is sexy, all right? And the thing
that's
about
right.
it is that like I'm saying that to say
He's putting his bid in.
that there's a little bit of an appetite that's there that can be fed if it's fed the right way. But I think a lot of times we're just put in that same situation. So like it's rough, man. I don't know.
Yo, Ron literally just said share this video with a whole bunch
I
of
did.
people.
That was me.
Oh, that was Mal?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I pinned it so people can share the video.
So I
Know what
have
I'm
a
saying? Share the
question.
video. Know
We
what I'm
got
saying?
another question. We got another question.
All right, so
Sister
I know we're
Nene.
talking about the whole stereotypes of women.
Uh-huh.
Is that, and I know this is a topic that everybody always talks about, but is that a reason why you see a lot of African American men date outside of their
Ooh, I wanted to get there.
Kristen May.
Oh no.
Okay, all right, so look. All right.
What are you going
Can we hold up? Can we hold that one for a little bit?
Yeah,
All right.
hold that.
Can we hold that? Because
Put a
I
pin
want
in
to
it,
get
Christy.
there.
Put a pin in it.
I want to get there. And disclaimer, we are not knocking anybody that is in a relationship. Yeah.
I am.
But before we get there,
Love
Christy,
is love.
I have a question to kind of lead into that. So like kind of just getting back to like the topic, like the disconnect. I want to ask like something personal to y'all, and y'all can be as honest as y'all want. But like, how in your personal lives has your relationship with your fathers or men in your family, anything like, how is, what's the word I want to say? How is your community, your world around you, and your upbringing? How has that like kind of molded your view about men?
That's good. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to go first?
You always the first
Okay.
to talk. Just saying. I'm
Cause
just saying.
y'all know I'll just sit here and talk. So my father passed away when I was young, so I didn't have like the father figure in the household, but I had my grandpa who was very close. I had uncles who was around. So with me growing up, they were always really present. Like I cheered and I did track in high school. They didn't miss no games. They didn't miss no track meets. Like they showed up. Like anytime I had like an award ceremony, my papa brought flowers and stuff like balloons. Like so they were affectionate enough for me to know that, you know, that this is what a man should look like, so without having it in the household. So I don't feel like I'm not supported or I'm not respected as a black woman in my small community. Like I have friends that I grew up with that are that I'm really close with that are guys, and they always show respect. But for me, it's like I can see the bigger picture. Like I know within my community that I can be respected by men, and I know I've been disrespected by plenty of them. But within my small community, like being with y'all, like y'all always show utmost respect for women, and I just know that's basically probably based on how y'all was raised, which is also
don't
not
play that.
knocking it. But
I'll get my.
Vern don't play that.
huh? You said don't say that.
Yeah, Vern don't play that.
I'll
Yeah,
get
listen,
teeth knocked down
exactly.
my
I
throat.
know, but I'm just saying, like being around y'all,
this
growing
Taheem
up around
said.
y'all.
I don't know what he said. I said I'll get the teeth knocked down my throat.
I know that y'all know how to respect, you know, the woman in your life. But I just think as a bigger picture, it's not always like that. Like I think that we forget that women, or you know, everybody in general can be multifaceted. Like y'all put us in a box. Like I can't be educated and sexy. I can't be, you know, saved and still want to have fun. Like it got to be this one little box. That's why when y'all saying like some girls are doing like the OnlyFans or posting pictures on Instagram to make money, but that doesn't mean that they can't be educated. Doesn't mean that they can't be smart or they don't respect themselves. So I think sometimes times that's what I mean by, conditions or how black men love black women. Like, y'all have to love us the way that y'all want to see us. And if we don't fit how y'all think we should look to be respected, then the respect's not there. So all the, just like y'all said, y'all don't like the housewives and all the reality shows. Do y'all still think those women need to be respected, though, as mothers, as sisters, as wives?
Yes.
Even though they on there throwing drinks at each other. Like,
And that's,
so
but that's
what
where I'll
I mean
be so hurt. That's why I'll be so hurt, because I'm like, that's not real. I know that's not how they act. I know that's not really them. I'm like,
But see, they might. I seen a
I'm
post
about
on
to say,
I
you'd
seen a
be
post on
surprised. Some of them
Instagram
do act like that,
the
for
other
real.
day, and this girl said, I think her mom's a lawyer and she's like a doctor or something like that, but her mom just got into a fight or she just cussed somebody out. Like, she was like, just because we're educated does not mean that we don't have other parts of ourselves. Now, I personally think that nobody should be fighting at that age or something like that. Like, you should just be able to handle conflict different ways. But I think her point was trying to say, like, just because y'all can see me as this professional does not mean I don't have, other sides.
that's true.
So that's what I mean by respect as a whole. But me personally, as my community growing up, I think that I was around enough black men, even growing up in the church and just my family, to know that they just be seeing how they respect women or how I should be respected and supported personally.
Who's the next one? Talk about
Tristan.
Nene, and so I would just rephrase the question. How is, what you've seen coming up, you're in the community and things like that, your relationship with men in your family or in your life and stuff, how has that molded your view about black men and, if you feel protected on a general standpoint?
Okay. I was pretty sheltered as a kid. So, but I feel like all the men that were in my life were very supportive. Yeah, I've never felt disrespected by a man, and if I did, this mouth knew how to get back.
Oh, shoot.
And yeah, I'm one of those, so you gotta pray for me.
Lord.
But no, I felt like I've had people like Shannon always in my corner. If there were any dysfunctions, you kind of take the good, leave the bad. But I've never felt like the men in my circle were anything less than strong black men.
Right. Wow.
I'm going to piggyback off of Christine and say I was pretty sheltered too growing up. Like, I grew up literally born in a church, born at the altar. Let's just go with that. So I grew up my dad was there, all of my uncles is there on both sides of the families. It was just even people in the community, the neighbors, it was, we going these are little sisters, we going to protect them. So I've always had a positive view of men growing up. I don't think it was until I got to college or when I first started being out on my own that I was oh, y'all disrespectful. Some of y'all is really disrespectful out here. But yeah.
So growing up, the men in my family were great. My uncles, my dad, my brother, they were all really great. I think I was one of those women that tried to fit the mold because growing up, guy friends that I had, well, not even just guys, but friends in general, a lot of people, because I'm mixed race, so a lot of people I wasn't black enough. Mm-hmm. So then you try to, okay, well, what's black enough? And so then I moved from a predominantly black school to a predominantly white school. So then when I moved to the predominantly white school, then I wasn't, I was the ghetto girl that came from the black school. So then I moved back to that same black school, and then I was, I wasn't black enough then. So it's I went from how I was to trying to fit this other mold, and then, it just, my down, yeah. So.
That's true.
That's true, because I went to a predominantly white college, and it was I ain't doing this with y'all today.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. That's crazy, man.
Okay, so, all right, so from hearing what y'all, and somebody commented something that kind of will kind of lead to the next part. So we're here. We're talking about this disconnect. How did we get to this point where black men are openly putting down black women on social media, in life in general? How did we get to this point where black men are trying to make it black women aren't enough for us? What do you guys think are some things that kind of led to this point?
So I'll start this one off, Shannon. I feel like this is a two-sided thing. So the first side would be, okay, for instance, a woman grew up, she fell in love with a man, the man hurt her. So now she didn't really have those high standards when she got into that initial relationship. So now because of all the hurt that she's been through, she set her standards a little higher. So that's the one side of it. And then the other side is more so, yeah, what's the other side of it, Deron? I don't know. My mind just went blank.
Okay, all right. So like, talking about like, how did we get to this point? Because somebody's saying like, you guys have seen such great role models and stuff in your lives and stuff. So even with that, like, because everybody, I feel like any lady that you ask, I mean, not say any, because a lot of people have gone through some tough stuff. But a lot of women will say, like, oh, the men in my family were amazing, all this stuff. I have great friends and stuff. But still, like, we keep getting to this point where we're having this problem.
So then I'll just stick with the one side then, about how, like, some women are very trusting, and because they went into that community, they had that community of men growing up where it was very supportive for them, and maybe they got into their first relationship and it was, like, major heartbreak, whatever. And then the standard that they thought they should have had based on what they were raised with wasn't enough. So now they come and they're put into a higher standard, which then causes men who don't fit that standard to look like nothing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then I think, yeah, I like that, because I think a lot of times us as men, I'll be honest, like I think a lot of times us as men will take that standard when the girl says, like, all right, you're not enough, we just start bashing, like, that's it. Like, oh, she already corny from that standpoint, like, I know who I am, I'm good, like, so if she don't like me, she has to be corny. And that's like,
Insecurity.
yeah, like, that's what I'm saying.
Somebody
So
said that in the comments, too.
It takes
Somebody
like
said it in
a
the
lot of it, like, yo, it takes a lot of encouragement, but it takes a lot of like really like understanding to understand like, yo, like it's okay to be not all right in certain situations. We can always grow. Growing is good. Growing is okay.
Can I say something? Cause
Yeah.
So for me personally, I can definitely say, as on a religious basis, my standards were super high. For anyone coming into like even friendships, coming in, I found myself always feeling like because I was this 20-some-year-old virgin girl that the men that came just want one thing from me. That shallow part of a man is gonna want that from me. So I kind of set my bar high. And
Was it a bar or a wall?
was it what?
I said, was it a bar or was it a wall?
You know?
Ooh.
That's good. That's
That
good.
is good.
That's
Because I
That's
can definitely
different.
say I got to a place where I started getting older and I started feeling like, all right, like maybe you doing too much. Bring it down. And then I bring it down and fools get in. And so I'm like, now we putting it back up.
Fools get in.
Putting it right back up.
Let the fool in.
So I think for me, I don't know, it's a bad mindset to have, like, yes, and I think majority of it was a wall, so I don't feel like I was getting hurt or anything like that. And then when it still happened, I'm like, nah, we just gonna put this right.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like for that, it's always, for me, are the shallow ones coming towards me, or is this a mature individual?
Hey,
So I'm sorry.
hey Mal,
Curtis.
are you related to Bridget Holmes?
Yes.
Cause she's all up in my head, yo.
So
like,
So
she commented everything I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to go?
Go ahead,
Okay.
Shane. No, go ahead.
So I think, because y'all not gonna play devil's advocate here, because all of you guys kind of have like the same. Let me not say all you guys, because I don't know your personal life, Nicole. But most of y'all, I kind of know, like y'all all grew up in 2-parent households. So I grew up in a 1-parent household.
For some of the
so
time.
for most, okay, that's fine. Y'all had both.
I had both
did.
both lives.
I
I
did.
was trying.
I had
feel you,
both
brother.
lives.
Okay,
I had
that's
a one-parent
okay.
household.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for the ones that did not, because y'all asking like, how do y'all think we got to the disconnect? So if we could take it back, I think that might be one of the first times. Like we had a lot of men in the 60s, 70s going to jail and houses being broken, and I think that is one of the biggest things that was played, because I honestly can say, like I talked to a few women at my church, because I aspire to be a wife. Like I want to be in a marriage, but I have never had that marriage in my household. So I told them plenty of times, like, I can want this, but if I don't have the blueprint for it, is it attainable? So I think for a lot of times, when people are growing up, especially in our community, not saying that other races always have a perfect household, but a lot of times, we're talking about ours. They're in jail, or maybe they're on drugs, or they passed away, or it just didn't work out, and you live with your mom. 9 times out of 10, you live with your mom, or sometimes you live with your dad, and you just don't see that. Like, you don't see that relationship. Like, if I didn't grow up seeing my mom and dad talk stuff out, how I'm supposed to be in a relationship and know how to talk stuff out without yelling and cussing and automatically breaking up? Like, we always talk about how our grandparents had 50-year marriages and stuff, but they also didn't have social media. They also didn't have Love and Hip Hop. They also didn't have, a million people telling you what a relationship should look like.
What is yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, I think a lot of disconnect is not having that black family. Like, for me, I think that is literally like the concrete to everything. Like, you have to have that to build on a lot.
Yeah,
and we don't have that a lot in our
And I feel like we both, as male and female, both dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming one side or the other. I
yeah.
agree. I think it goes both ways.
So, kind of like from that, like you talk about history, like it all started like basically the black family structure in multiple ways got broken for different reasons.
Yes.
You know.
And we ain't going to say all the systematic
incarcerate-
ways that it
it's a lot
happened.
of-
But y'all
There's a
know
lot of
what?
reasons why I got that way.
Before the
but
U.S.
like,
shut y'all down, I
right.
ain't going to have y'all get shut down. But
some of
we
the
know.
effects that come from that though is like you have a generation of like women that were they were forced to do everything on their own, and so they became like everything to the household. Like they became self-sufficient. Not that I'm not saying that y'all weren't sufficient before, but like
No,
everything
we
now,
were.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So and then you have a generation that grew up watching that. They watched that mode. A lot of women saw like their mothers grinding and working all day. So
And boys, because how many
Yep.
speeches y'all hear when they get drafted? My mom,
Definitely.
my mom. Thinking
Definitely.
it's always my mom. Like,
Yeah.
like.
So
growing
like
up
with that, like, and also going back to what I said, like, the ratio that black women are like educating themselves and graduating and stuff like that, the black men aren't doing it at that same level. Do you feel like because of so many years of women, like now they can handle it on their own? They're breadwinners. They're holding master's degrees and getting doctorates and things like that. And a lot of guys aren't necessarily at the same rate reaching up to those heights. Do you kind of feel like there's some type of, I don't want to say jealousy, but like, is there like some,
yes.
is there something there because of that?
The role's been flopped.
I
Like
think
you
so.
said, like especially when you said about insecurity, like,
Yeah,
'cause
it's always an
everyone
insecurity.
thinks the mold of the house is the man is supposed to be at the head.
Yeah.
Spiritually, I guess, yeah, but like at the end of the day, like if your girl is educated, like why you
Doing
trying
her
to hold her
thing, she
down?
doing her thing. Like I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't.
I guess some men just feel like,
They're intimidated.
yeah, it can be a jealousy thing, but it can also be like an intimidation thing. Because
Or
I
the way
know
they're
some
brought up.
people who are in relationships where the woman is highly educated, but the man is just like I'm here and I'm loving you, I'm supporting you, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, dang, like she passed me. Like sometimes it encourages the man to like want to do better, but then sometimes it's
They
like,
get comfortable.
right, sometimes they get comfortable in allowing the woman to just kind of
Take the
lead
lead.
what's going on.
Well, I mean, okay. So in that aspect, I have another question though. Do you feel like it's easy for women to let men lead in that aspect?
No.
Not in this.
Say, can you say that again?
Right. So I'm saying like, do you think it's like, all right, so you got a relationship and the guy is like, not as educated as the woman is, but like, let's say he actually started grinding and he actually surpasses the woman in some type of way, in some way. I don't know how, but whatever. Do you feel like it's easy for that woman to say, all right, babe, I got you. Like, go and do your thing.
Oh, all right. So is it? All right. That's what. Or do y'all feel like y'all capable of doing that?
Yes.
I can only
Honestly,
speak for myself. I don't want to speak for everyone as a whole.
But you all, I mean, you don't have to either. Like you don't have
But
to.
for
Yeah,
myself,
it's like-
I think I can. Like, I don't want to be with any. If we're talking about partnership, I don't want to be with anybody I cannot learn from. So
Yeah.
that's not an intimidation for me. Like, that's not a jealousy for me. I'm not going to be insecure about that. I want you to come home and teach me something different. Or I want you to call and like, I'm gonna be. That would be encouraging for me. Like you said, like. For some people, it's like you see your partner or your friends or anybody doing something a step ahead, like that should be motivation for you to be like, you know what, I can do that too, or let me try this lane or let me figure it out. So for me, I don't think either way I would have a problem with supporting the man regardless. Like I do think that it might be a problem when some women are making six figures and their husband or significant
Trying to be a
cannot
rapper.
match it. But I don't think that it's impossible. I think it
You
depends on the
said
person.
you said no. So what
Well,
you think?
so I feel like a lot of women now, we are like raised to be independent and take care of ourselves first. And I feel like men are intimidated by that because I know, like, personally in our relationship, like, I had a hard time, not, because he's always trying to help and he's like, do you need help? Do you need help? And I'm like, no, I got it. And that's just because, I was raised to do what I do, like, do what I need to get done and worry about me and my daughter. And, like, I appreciate you, but it's hard because that's how I was raised, and it's hard to break out of that. And I feel like men just don't like that, and then that's when they kind of like, okay,
Because
well,
if they don't
whatever.
feel needed,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, yeah, what am I there for?
Low key.
It's that ego thing.
It is. It's definitely your ego
So I have a
pride.
question from that. Do you feel like it's beneficial for women to support their men, even if they are making more or whatever have you? Do you feel like
Can I
Yes.
can I go first?
C.
Hold on.
C.
Finish, Nene, but I'm letting y'all know I'm answering first. All right.
C.
I'm going first, but finish, Nene.
Do you feel like, oh, hold on, now I gotta rethink how I was gonna say that. So do y'all feel like it's important for women to support their men, even if they are making more or whatever have you? I really did forget the point I was about to make, so I'm gonna just let y'all ride on that one.
That's okay. That's a good
I
question.
feel what you're saying. Like, can you
I'm about to
support, or can a man still be the head of the household
Oh, I
if
got the
he's not?
question. Before marriage, do you feel like a woman should put all her, I'm not gonna say eggs in the basket, but do you feel like she should give you all her support in the dating stage, or do you feel like that's something that should really be saved for the husband and wife?
Thank you, Christine. That's good.
Can you
define support?
Yeah, can
I
you
think you
kind of
define
expound
support.
on like what you
Yeah,
mean like
yeah.
support?
So when I say support, anything, so financially, just, of course, if you're doing something, like all of you are musicians, if you're dating someone, you want somebody to take the time and
Yeah.
be at something that you're doing or anything like that. That support is, of course, you can give anytime.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, when it comes to the financial support and the support of, like, helping take care of, like, all that stuff where that's sort of borderline marriage.
Yeah, nah.
So
I don't believe
it's a
in
limit.
that.
It's a limit.
It's a limit.
Coming to see us at a gig that we're doing, yeah, I would kind of want you to kind of come and see me, because I feel like it'd be the same thing if like y'all was doing something like that. Y'all would want that
I would
person
show
to
up.
support. Because if we don't, then it kind of looks like, well, are you really like for what I'm doing? Like, do you really care? Nah,
supporting-
it's a limit though.
But supporting financially, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
It's a
I'm
limit.
I'm gonna be really,
Yeah,
real, I'm gonna be
this-
really real and say that, like, if we're dating, and you're saying, like, babe, let me help you with the car payment. No.
Yeah,
And I'm
no.
gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why though. I'm gonna tell you why. Because like, like, I don't know about anybody else, but like, I'll be vulnerable. Like, I proposed to Vanna in 2017. Before that, I had to do my own thing because like I need her to know, like, like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. And then again, I got you even if you need it. You know what I mean? But like, and I'm not saying this. And the wild thing about it is that like I knew that she could help me if I needed it. You know what I mean? But like, I want her to understand that like, at the end of the day, man, like, regardless of any situation, if I don't have, like, I have myself. If I don't have myself, how can I have her?
True.
That's a real thing.
And
I think that's
and
the
see,
part
that
where
goes back
women be like, I'm gonna keep my control because you don't got this.
But
like,
And I feel you on that, but like I said, like that's a no. Especially we talking like financially, date night and stuff like that.
Hands down
That's
no.
on me. I
See,
really,
that I don't know.
It depends.
Go back and forth.
Yeah, right.
I think it goes back.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
think it
gonna
goes
say
back
that.
and forth. I think affection can go back and forth both ways. So if I'm going to take you to the movies or take you out to dinner, or I found out that you like somebody's playing at a concert and I want to buy you a ticket to go, I don't think that's a problem when you're in a dating.
Because I
stage.
feel like that's another stereotype too,
no,
personally.
but
Like,
I get it, but I think I get where.
Like I don't want to
Kristen
pay
was trying to hit
rent.
at.
No,
Yeah.
we're not
I feel like
paying
you
rent.
have a lot of women who don't mind supporting complacent men. If you have a man, and no shade, but if you have a man that's
Ouch.
willing
That
to
hurt.
work
Yeah, you see
and
it.
and you work,
Yeah.
even if you ain't making as much as me, if you willing to work, I got you, but not before marriage. Like for me, those steps would definitely be your
Right.
husband.
See,
And
so
that's
for
what I
me,
was gonna say.
Oh,
It
sorry.
depend. It really depends on how invested you are into your
Okay,
relationship.
thank you. I was about to go to
Exactly.
that.
Because like Christine just said, like if you want to work, like if you're in school, if you're pursuing that degree, like I don't have no issue supporting you. Like you want to go to that gig, I'm following you. Like we're going together. Like I'm not sending you nowhere by yourself, but I'm
She
just
was at
saying.
every gig.
I am at every gig, and that's another conversation for another day. But like I said, it depends on how invested you are and how not complacent your partner is. Because if you're just in a complacent relationship where ain't nobody doing nothing, then what are y'all doing?
So
I
question,
agree.
what do y'all look for in a relationship? Like, if y'all, it's a very broad question.
That is broad, but it's a good
But
question
like,
though.
what do y'all look for? Are y'all in the relationship to build to the marriage? Because
So-
that kind of
right.
doesn't
Facts.
contradict what y'all saying about the whole supporting thing, but
Dig into that.
what's y'all view of support?
So that's what I was going. Thank you. I'm glad you asked that question because that's kind of what I was thinking as y'all was talking. Because Christine's saying like a lot of stuff is like marriage, like that's you're not going to get that till we get married. But my thing is, I don't know if I'm going to want to marry you if I can't see that you can support me. If I can't see that you're there for me when I need you emotionally. Like if I can't see any of those qualities in you, then we ain't never going to get married. So I think it goes both ways. Like he ain't going to marry me if I can't show up for him. So I think it's like. It's like you said, like it depends. It depends on the relationship. It depends on the relationship.
But watch this. Watch this. Like, no. But like also like with that, not even just like I can speak for like men as far as like when they have apprehensions about getting married and stuff. It's not always like can the lady support us? Because you understand a lot of black men, because of a lot of things that are going on in society, whatever, in their homes, everything. A lot of them don't have a lot of confidence in themselves, no matter how much they seem like they do out here. They, you know, they real shiny and all that stuff. A lot of men don't believe in themselves either, and inside it's forever constant battle. Like, I don't want to propose, or I don't want to get married because I don't feel like I can do all these things.
I don't want them to see
Not even
that,
that you're
like,
telling me that I can't do it, even though you may believe I can do it. But I myself, I'm like, I don't believe I'm there yet. So it's a lot.
Like if I'm not there, like I don't think I'm like capable to do that. I don't want to show you that I'm not there. Like that's I mean maybe it's a pride thing, but like
Yeah,
in reality,
definitely
and
pride.
I definitely think it's a pride thing. But in reality, like that's what I think it goes back to that same situation of like what we did in the past. Like as far as like we getting married and stuff like that, when it comes to getting married, you want to make sure you talk to like the husband. That's what, not the husband, the father and everything else. Yeah, and that's how things go. But like in his eyes, I have to make sure I take care of you. You know, so how can I, if I'm not showing that to him, like I can't show it to you,
If
I can't show it to
show it to
anybody
your
else.
daddy.
Yeah, like at this point, I'm not putting myself in a situation where like I know that I'm going to fail miserably. Not fail, but fail miserably because you're going to fail. But like fail miserably to the point that like nothing don't make sense. But that you make like calling your mom and dad talking about this guy did this to me. I don't know if you have any money, all that other stuff. Like I don't want that. I don't want that. I mean, maybe that's just me, but like I
No,
don't know.
security is important.
Yeah, like. But also a disclaimer too. Like I thought
Jakai said these questions are loaded.
Loaded.
they are.
They
I
are
mean,
loaded
very-
questions.
They are very loaded. But disclaimer
Why don't you come
too,
out here, Jakai?
Well, yeah, we should have Jakai.
Well, give us a question,
You might as well
Kai.
drive
What specific question do you have, Kai?
Oh, that's funny.
I think I've seen a few.
What's next?
I basically that was Jamar's question, and I basically asked about what is the goal during a dating stage? What is your purpose in dating, to get married or just casual looking for a companion?
Texas Roadhouse bully potato.
I'm at Texas Roadhouse.
Jamar, you're hungry, bro. I get
I
it.
would say at this
I am
age,
hungry.
if you're I mean, because we're all pretty, are y'all all, I think we're all over like 25.
Yeah.
I feel like
I'm
at
turning
this
25 in
age,
October.
there should be purpose in your dating. There should be purpose in the dating, and you got to figure out your purpose.
Exactly.
Nobody,
You gotta figure out you.
you got to figure out you,
you.
but that should have been something you've been trying to figure out.
But doesn't it also depend on like how far you are? Because I feel like sometimes people have these expectations where they're trying to see a husband or a wife in this person, and you just met them. You don't even actually know them yet.
So
That's a mistake.
Can
And
I
they don't know you. So how are you expecting them to show you?
I'm gonna touch on that. I'm gonna touch on that because Takeisha actually said that. She was like, to me, it's important that we have friendships way before relationships.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna
Preach,
just speak on
Takeisha.
myself because of my relationship. I was friends with my girl before we got in a relationship, and we about to be 7 years strong. But it was a friendship that was like made first. Friendships matter in relationships because if you don't know who you're with, like really know them, like you jump into something and then it's just like, who am I with?
That's very true. 'Cause I
Conversation
can
is
say,
needed.
That's
I
very
can
rare.
say for me, when I'm friends with someone, I'm much more comfortable, and you'll probably get a lot more of who I
Exactly.
really am. Where if I'm dating, and that's the first mindset, I'm already covering up stuff because I don't want you to see some of the.
Right.
I mean, but like, I understand that, but like for us, like when we started dating, that's when we started building our friendship. So like as we started to date, we are actually seeing like, yo, this is like really like my best friend. We tell each other everything. So it's like very rare. But you,
that's your
you gave it that
But we
time.
knew
though.
each other for
that's
years.
your-
Yeah, we knew each other for years.
That's your maturity, though, bro. I'll
Yeah.
be honest. I think, I knew everybody in Vaughn's family before I knew her, and then we finally met. Yeah, but
Dag.
I think it's comes to maturity, though. Like, I think in reality, like, I think friendship, I think you should definitely be friends. Because especially from a marriage standpoint, I'm being honest, like, if I can't laugh with you, bro, if we can't sit there and do whatever, like we can't talk. If I can't throw a pillow at you and you get mad, throw a pillow at me back and we start pillow fighting or whatever, like that's a real thing. Friendships are honest, yo. Like we doing this for a long time.
Kai trying to get heavy.
Guys,
Ooh,
Thank you, Jakai.
Oh, thank
you, Jakai.
Bro, Jakai, all right, so Jakai literally,
Bless you,
like,
man
that's
of
what I'm
God.
saying. Like, even with y'all,
That's a big problem.
Y'all dating, y'all talking about, like, but y'all gave time to walk into this stuff. Like, you can't go into dating somebody or meeting someone or trying to learn somebody looking for your husband or your wife already. Like, yo, look for who they are first. Find out who they are.
And what Jakai just pointed out is the reason why most people do that is because dating is not talked about in church as
Right.
much as
Nope.
marriage is.
No, it's definitely marriage. It's not
Yeah.
friendship or dating. Like it's
They never talk about
marriage.
course. No.
See, listen, my dad.
Oh, I like you. Let's talk about
expounded-
marriage.
My dad expounded, and he easily said, dating is data. Get all the information you gotta get, and date more than one person. You don't gotta be stuck to
Hello.
one
That's a preach.
person. Because I feel like women, we put all our eggs in one basket.
Some of us men do too,
and
though.
men be having
Not
three
me.
others lined up. Then our feelings be hurt
And
because
because
they
that
was already.
and that goes back to that standard that they has placed on
Exactly.
women, okay? Because we ain't allowed to walk around and date and stuff like
And
that.
we
Because
be
y'all
so-
gonna talk
Okay,
about it
wait, I
at
have a
the
question.
church.
Let's
Let's
I gotta
touch
go
on
to
Hold up.
this.
I gotta
Let's
put-
touch on
Because
this.
all y'all ladies got
So-
about
I gotta
five.
play.
Y'all got about 5 prospects.
5.
Listen, because I'm gonna tell you, I
And
tell
a
people
goalie.
straight up, I am dating. That means
All
you may not be
ladies-
the
all y'all
only
ladies got
one
about
that's
5
at the movie.
prospects.
Okay, I might be at the movie with
5
somebody else. I don't
prospects
play
and
no
a
games.
goalie.
I gotta play devil's advocate because like there've been
Oh,
multiple
Jakai.
times.
Jakai.
There's been
Honey, Jakai's just talking,
Jakai.
okay?
Jakai.
He's on fire. Thank you, Kai.
You need to be here. For
Where
real.
are you at?
Jakai.
Trying to be on this
Jakai
live.
said we get married.
We
for
thank
sex.
y'all for these
marriage as a
comments
way
too.
to be
I want to
holy
take a minute to.
before-
Wait, I gotta hear. I want to hear
That's
Keegan read
You
it.
said we teach marriage as a way to be holy before sex. Jakai should be on this page.
Jakai, where
Yes,
you
sir.
at, Jakai?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's crazy.
Come to
That's
the
a whole
church.
topic itself.
That's a whole
Like,
topic
I gotta
itself.
play devil's advocate on the dating thing. So the reason why I say that is because like let's be real. We're in a situation. I'm dating this girl. We go on a date, right? We go to Ruby Tuesdays. I get you like whatever you need. You know what I mean? We good.
Unlimited
That's on
salad.
That's on Tuesday. That's on Tuesday. But on Friday, I'm with Monique. You see Monique. You see me with Monique, and all of a sudden it's a whole like, oh, but I thought she was with me. Like, I thought the date was cool. I thought the date was fine. Like, what happened to Ruby Tuesdays? On Tuesday.
Communication,
We're good. Like,
people.
what happened?
That's what I'm saying.
Communication.
If you told me that you were dating, it would keep me in the well. I ain't like this because I'm already like, all right.
All right.
Daddy said date, so I'm going to date. But for women, I feel like because it's not said to women, and you're not making it exclusive, so you feel like you can go ahead and date, which is fine. But communicate that to the women because women get so attached so easily and quickly.
Yeah.
And then they like, oh well.
And don't lead us on. Like that's y'all make us feel like we're the only one. And
Good
like
point,
you said,
Nicole.
communication. Like you gotta say, hey, like I'm seeing a couple other people, like, or people dread that. What are we? But sometimes you need to do that. What are we? Like, am I gonna give my all to you, or am I gonna see other people?
No pun intended.
See, and when y'all get to 30, and
No,
y'all
no,
still
no,
single,
That was good.
That's my girl, y'all. Know what I'm saying?
This nigga over here giddy.
But yeah, it's a cultural so like Jamar said like if that's all it is for you, you fail. As far as like they teach marriage as a way to be
to have
married.
holy sex.
But like if we're gonna be honest, like that's what we get like growing up in church. Like as soon as you talking to somebody, the first question is always, oh, when you get married, the bed is undefiled. Like
Bro.
What?
Bro.
That's why I don't bring nobody.
When I
but
tell
like,
you,
What?
that is the first question. First question.
That's the first thing. Like they just like
What you waiting
everybody
for?
So, they be so ready to marry you and the person you talking
Ain't
to.
ready yet.
Y'all ain't ready. Yeah.
And that's why I feel like sex should be taught in the church.
Thank you.
It
I'm
should
Amen.
be
Not
bashed.
talked about.
Absolutely.
It should be
Absolutely.
talked
All
about.
that should be talked
Because
about. I
number
agree.
one, we have a whole lot of teenagers in church who are out here smashing any and everything.
Every
And that's
situation.
because we're not having conversations. Number one, let's have conversations about what safe sex looks like. Because it's not like we
'Cause
can
I don't
say,
wanna
don't
forget.
have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex, because they're going to do it. Like, it's happening. And I'm not coming against like what we believe as Christians, whereas we should wait until we get married, but we have to look at the reality of it. People are doing it, teenagers are doing it,
The
and
flesh
as
is
a
weak.
result of teenagers doing it, teenagers are having babies, and now the teenagers' babies are having babies because it's not a conversation.
Yeah.
Especially when the conversation is, and we're in the church, and we see a lot of older women with children and no dads or husband with them on the pew.
Talk, Shannon.
So it's a hard conversation to have
Hello,
in a
lights.
church.
And
Or
church
the
needs to stop.
people preaching to us.
Yeah, you
Got-
can't
got
preach that.
multiple wives,
You
all that
can't
stuff.
preach that.
Like sister wives and all the other stuff. It's really crazy.
It's like how
Yeah.
is okay. So like, all right, we say this all the time. Nobody's perfect, and like I don't expect anybody that preaches or gets in the pulpit to be perfect. Like no,
No,
but it's
absolutely
just-
not.
But like for people that didn't grow up in church and don't understand that like us, it's hard for them to grasp that concept of like. I hear you preaching, what you're saying is right,
Lord.
even though I see that you failed at that. So a lot of people, they don't want to hear that. Like, they see, what do you say?
I was saying Jamar said he's gonna start talking about it in our youth department. So I'm
Please
scared.
good, because they need it.
My fault to cut you off.
But that is hard. Like, a lot of people, especially people that didn't grow up in church, like, when they see that there's preachers out here that got multiple kids. and
Hello.
that we don't know about, or they got like 2 first ladies. We done seen the first lady.
Facts.
Honey.
They had a different first lady a couple
Chilling.
years ago.
Literally.
Now we got a new first lady. All that stuff, and she already got a parking spot up front. All
Exactly.
that stuff.
You become a
So
hypocrite.
it's like hard.
And I think it's rough too because like I mean from a Christian standpoint we are taught to read the Bible and the Bible supposed to be our light and our path. God definitely says be fruitful and multiply. Therefore like I think sex is an okay thing. It's not even okay. It's a great thing.
And
Like
I-
it's just that it has to be in context though. Like
I feel like the church. I'm trying not to
Say it. Just
Yeah, I feel like the church really tries to use certain sex conversations as scare tactics.
Right, and
Bad.
that's what
And
I
wish
don't
it
like,
would just
I ain't
be
scared.
honest
That's
communication,
true.
Because growing up, we had Young Lady Society, and one of our lessons was about sex and safe sex. But in the class, of course, they talked about using condoms and birth control and different things like that if you're going to do that. But then they printed out a whole sheet of all these diseases. Like, you can get all of these, yeah, and all of these.
For that one time,
And
girl.
It was this, like, though it was needed and though it was good to have because a lot of schools
education,
stopped
yeah.
talking about it, it was still, where's the other conversation? Like, this is a normal thing. Yes, God prefers you to do it with your husband or your wife, but if it does happen, what do you do?
yeah.
And I think that's right because, like, I think we all can agree. It's not that with the church or people are preaching, it's not that they're wrong or that they
Yeah.
shouldn't say these things.
Right,
Like,
absolutely.
these
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things are Bible and they will forever be
Right,
Bible. So
right.
you should have these things. You should have these conversations. But I feel like we're losing everybody if that's just where the ball stops. Like we're just
Right.
having purity services.
Yeah, like it should like
Abstinence.
We're having purity
Yeah.
services to people
My Lord.
that lost their virginity before you even had a service.
Yeah, like probably the lost virginity,
already missed
virginity
that.
at the service.
Hello.
Come on.
Yeah, you already
After
got
that
the
service,
Yeah,
people
you
lost their
already missed
virginity
that.
twice.
Hello.
Like, what are we really talking about? This is the real situation. Like, I mean, I think that's the real
Conventions,
thing. I think
bro.
like we're really getting stuck because like in reality, bro, like we're not teaching people that sex is good and like sex is okay. Like it's a good thing. We're always talking about how like it's a bad situation and like no one should be doing it. You're like this is it. Sex is crazy and it's bad, but it's not. The physical act is not bad, guys. It never will.
Let me
be.
tell you,
It never will.
I think it scared me so badly that growing up for a long time, I was afraid to, I'm not gonna say hug men, but I had to hug men a certain way. I was afraid to get involved in like kissing and different stuff like that because I didn't know what it would do, like where I would go in my mind or what it would lead to, and I'm like not prepared. Like church
Right,
literally
yeah.
puts you into a world that it's all this stuff and they keep you in this box, and so you're just like, la la la, like, no, there's real life out here.
See, and that's for y'all that grew up in really sheltered, because y'all both said that from the beginning, that y'all grew up really sheltered. I, for one, my mom is very open with me and my sister about everything. She didn't sugarcoat nothing with us growing up. Like, we hit certain stages, you had certain conversations, and it just kept going. And it's still pretty open like that now. So I had a little bit of both. Like, I grew up in the church, so I knew what they was teaching us there, but I had my mom too. And clearly still saying the thing, like, y'all should be waiting until marriage, but y'all need to have the conversation. I need to know, like, what's going on. Would you have questions about, like, how do you feel about this? Like, are you having thoughts? Like, you're liking this boy, you're dating him. Like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, she was a really open book. But I think the church has a responsibility too. Like, we're there a lot of times. Like, we're at school and we're at church. Like, growing up, like, that's where you are. Like, that's where most of our peers are at. Like, that's where we're learning stuff at. And you're leaving from a school with people that don't even know what church is, and you're learning a lot over here, and then you're coming, on a whole other side.
Mostly learning from your peers.
Yeah.
Right.
Not even from.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Learning it all wrong.
Learning it all wrong.
All
right.
wrong. Where you got the answers
my
in middle
siblings-
school.
My siblings came home talking about different stuff, and I said, "What is that?"
Like, exactly.
And they be
Like, and you,
"What?
but that's
how you
it
not know you
go.
older than me?" I'm like, "Yeah, they ain't talking
But
about this when I'm."
also,
When you went to
like-
school, everybody's talking about a whole bunch of stuff, and then you get to church, and the conversation's like stuck on, don't do it for marriage, like just saying you're gonna die. Like, it just makes it seem like it's just such a taboo conversation when it really shouldn't be. Like, we need to get comfortable with having those real conversations with, especially young adults.
Well, can I like get back to kind of with something that Christine said about, like, they use it as a scare tactic.
Yeah.
And like part of the reason why like that's wrong, like I said, like it's not what they're saying is wrong, it's how they saying it.
Yeah, it's
because when you're
definitely.
putting this fear into these kids at a young age, and you're making it seem like, yo, if you do make this mistake, like that's it. That's all
you're in
due for
hell.
your life. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as you get up from the bed, you're gonna die and go to hell. Like
And we're all
right
gonna
then
know.
and there,
When I turned-
it's your time.
When I
So-
turned 16, and I know my dad's probably watching this, but when I turned 16, he took me in front of the whole church because I asked, "Hey, Dad, can I start dating?" And I just wanted to date. I didn't want to do nothing crazy. I just wanted to talk to guys.
Because it's a natural feeling for you to start liking other
and
people.
all my friends were, and I'm like, well, I gotta be the only little one at home. So I'm like, can I date? And I was getting ignored. And so he answered my question, but at church in front of everybody. So it was like, it was
That's
a
so
lot.
awkward and
PK.
uncomfortable.
Well, it was like you can date. I heard your question. I feel like you're a responsible young lady. You can date, which automatically made the bum boys in the church like doo-doo-doo. And I'm like, no, I don't want y'all.
You're so Baltimore.
So for me, it was like you can date. But then he turned around and said, if any of y'all see her out here dating and she's doing anything, and so it automatically made me like, I don't want to do nothing when I see anybody at the church. And so I never wanted to live a dual lifestyle, so I just was like, I'm not going to do it. Like,
So, all right, so let's look at this. So let's look, do you think that, like, this has an effect on people who, like, stray away from the church too? Like, so we've always been taught, like, yo, just don't have sex. That's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing that you can do in life is have sex and have gay sex.
Hello.
Like, that is
Those
the
are
worst
things.
thing ever.
Worst.
And so, like, when you get to this point, but the thing is, so, like, if you have fallen into these sins or anything like that, I feel like people, because they're so scared, it's been beaten to them so hard, they feel like they can just never go back. And I feel like when people kind of slip into these things, they just leave the church all completely.
and that's
because
why you have
they
the
can't talk to nobody
stereotype
at church about it either.
of the church kids.
And I can kind of like attest to that because I had a baby. I'm not married and I have a daughter. And now our church
Cast
like,
out.
growing up,
Excommunicated.
growing up, like, we didn't really have the conversation at church, like y'all said. And then all these young girls at our church started getting pregnant and having babies. So then our church started the Abstinence for Christ weekend. So then we have this weekend where we learn about abstinence. You're abstinent, you signed, they had us sign certificates about being abstinent, all this stuff. Then more of us started to keep having babies and stuff. So then they changed it from like the focus on being abstinent to now they have the good touch, bad touch. They have the conversation. They have like the panel where you discuss, you can put your questions in anonymously. Now they're having a discussion about, okay, what's going on through your mind,
Ways to
what's
be
your feelings.
progressive
But
in
it's
post-church.
still, you still go, like, I was the first one out of, so, okay, the births stopped. Like, the young girls, it stopped for a little bit, and then, like, it started again. So then growing up, I was always like one of the good ones. They had these high expectations. I had a baby. Then I started to get some kind of, at church, like they're, looking at me wrong. And my dad, he would come back, I started not wanting to come because people were like, oh, we're still praying for you, slapping you,
yes,
and you're in our prayers, we got you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm fine. I'm here. My relationship with God, I slid a little bit, but like my relationship with God is still good. Why are you? So my dad would stand next to me. He's like, if I don't say anything to you, nobody's gonna say anything to you. Right. But then it's like more girls after me kind of started too, and the same thing's happening. And it's like, we're getting it from the same people that, like you said, they have these babies and your husband's not in church with you, and all that. We're getting the same things. Y'all are like, oh, telling us to live one way and then judging us because we did the same things y'all did.
It's a double standard.
Right. And then you don't want to go because it's like, I'm getting judged by you in a place where I shouldn't be getting judged.
And the wild thing about that, though, is that it starts to bring confusion and everything, because like it's crazy, because in reality, like the situation is that there is a right way, there is a right way. But the thing about it is, like, now that we've have people who are being very hypocritical, like we can't even understand like whether a right way is right or a wrong way is wrong, because it's like now we're doing different things. We're saying like, all right, the right way is even the right thing. So it gets us to an awkward spot.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like a lot of it is because this is always the cliche. They say, well, we just don't want you to make the same mistakes we did. Like, we want you to, not have to worry about that. See the mistakes that we made and learn from them and don't make that mistake. But a lot of times they don't really realize that they're really forcing us to go into into what they don't want us to do, because they're judging us, right? And so then we're lying about it. So then that's another sin, because we're covering that up. And then it's like, it's just trickling down and it's causing different things and all that. When in reality, if you just keep it real with us, like Slug said, if you just keep it real with us and just be honest from the front.
At an early age, too.
Yeah, like from an early age, not like when we get older, like be an early age, like be honest with us. Because like a lot of times we think that we have to sugarcoat stuff for our kids, like, no, from the jump, I'm being honest with my kid from the jump. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. This is what the world is. This is what it is. This is how it is. Look.
I had a discussion with somebody.
That church really naive.
I had a discussion with somebody about that, like, talking about my daughter, because when you tell a kid, no, because I said so, they're not learning what is wrong. So don't touch the stove because I said so. I don't know what's going to happen. What was it with you?
Yeah, because you say a lot of things. Like.
Yeah, well, because I said so, I'm not getting any information as to why I can't do it. So then I'm going to do it because I want to see why I can't do it, and then now I'm burned, Yeah. And it's that do as I say, not as I do, and that because I said so, that's getting us into these situations.
Oh, for real.
And I think that's the disconnect between generations.
Exactly.
Because Jamar said it before, like, old school, they did everything that we did. They just not talking about it. So when we do it, it's like a slap on the hand. Why are you doing that? Versus saying, you know what, like, I've been through this. Let me talk to you about it and let me help you through it, because like we're going through the same experiences. Like, okay, I'm gonna just be honest here and say we probably all, slipped up, right? Let's just say we all slipped up. And like, because it wasn't talked about, like, you feel bad about it. It's like, oh my God, I did it. Oh my God, like, I feel bad. And now I'm like, now I'm trying to talk to somebody like who was outside of the generation. Like, I made this mistake, and instead of getting, why did you do that? It's like oh, well, I made that mistake too. And it was like, okay, so why wasn't this conversation had before? Because now it's like, I mean, it's not saying that I don't feel bad, because I still feel bad, because I know right is right and wrong is wrong, regardless of whether somebody did it before me or not, right? But I don't.
You can see that someone made that same mistake and they made it back. That's the point. They scare you to think you can't come back after.
Crazy part is, what the crazy part is? That brings us back to the one episode, generational curses, because that's just a generational curse that has not yet been broken.
And I love that now, because I hate when people talk about like our generation this, our generation that. Like, y'all have so much to say, and my first question is always like, well, who raised this generation? Who raised us?
Y'all dropped the ball.
Like, somebody dropped the ball somewhere. Y'all can't put all the blame on us. Like. Y'all, we literally raised
like how y'all mama raised y'all, so y'all tweaked something and then we turned out.
You know
like
what I mean?
this.
Like, it's literally it's a constant trauma that happens over and over again, and eventually.
And I think that like this is
Amen,
all so
Kiera
good,
Richardson.
This is all really good. This is all really good, guys. I think like that kind of goes back to the same situation we were talking about like earlier.
Yes, Kiera.
As far as like with African American women and men, like I think I think we can all say that at the end of the day, like communication is the key that we need to bring generations together and for that disconnect, and also connect African American men and African American women during this time. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's a lot of situations that we have seen, that we have felt like even in our own those settings, that we felt a disconnect between our like genders and everything, between African American men and women. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now. You
And
know?
that's good, since we did take it to relationships in church. Like,
Well,
can you guys
hold on.
tell?
Before you get there,
sorry.
can we get y'all back on the show?
Yeah, we have
Can we get it? Because
We gotta-
we're over an hour now, and so we just
Oh wow.
yeah, we want to bring it in, and
we
we
went
got
in. We went in.
all the way off topic.
Off
Hey,
topic.
that-
But
that's why I said we want to bring it back.
but
to what we
that
started
topic
with.
was really good.
Yes.
So we can
That's
go back.
We can
That's-
read.
It's gonna be another episode, promise y'all.
We passed an hour now, and we just getting started, so we don't want to lose these 42 followers that we got today.
Exactly.
We just getting started,
Thank y'all
but
for
like
watching.
it gets off topic when you start talking about stuff that's real.
it really
Right.
good.
So I think
It
that's
really
what I was going to say. So to bring it back to what we started with, like the support and respect between black women and black men. Can you guys like attest that you think that black women are supported within the church? Like, or do you feel like that there is a difference, a set of standards
Definitely.
between black men and
I
black
don't
women?
think so.
I can't.
Be honest.
Ooh.
I don't.
Because just like
That's a hard-
Nicole
that's
was
a good
saying, like,
question.
since you already told your story, then I hope I'm not offending you. But she already said that she had a baby young in church and stuff, and a lot of people were judgy. But my thing is, if, you guys would have had a baby before that marriage and were still dating and stuff like that, would the judgment have been on Keegan or just Devonda? I think that's the question.
Well,
It
ooh,
would be on the men,
Yeah.
but not to the same degree.
Not to the same degree.
Okay, so you guys can be honest that that is
I think it plays different roles, and also it depends on like the situation that the people are in. But I think that like they both have their same situations. It will be worse on the female though, mainly because she's carrying. You physically see the baby growing, and all you don't see what I did.
No,
Y'all heard about it, but you don't see what I did. Yeah.
You can't hide. You can't ignore it.
I
when you
had
see
that
it.
conversation with my dad, and I was so offended. I'm like, why the guys don't get the same treatment as the girls
because you
get?
can't see
And
it.
Like, because you're carrying. I'm like, okay, but they put it there.
They put, like, you know what I mean? Like, it takes two.
I
It takes
agree. I
two.
fully agree, though. I'm just saying that I think that's the real situation. Like, I think about like this too. Like when it comes to like situations, I think about when it comes to like the cops and everything. With cops, right? If I get let's say me and Mal in the same place, right? But we get pulled over and I get arrested. You know what I mean? But they don't know that Mal was in the same car. So people don't see Mal. They see me. They see me get arrested. They see my situation. So it's about like visual. Perspective is a lot, but it's also about visual. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're pregnant, like you see it 9 months.
And can we just say like it's wrong? Like it's all
is.
all the way
All the way.
wrong that happens
Okay,
in
thank
the
you.
church.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying.
So we were talking about support and respect, and y'all asked us, do we feel supported?
the way wrong.
And that's what I
So,
mean by
like, we-
condition. So you
as
can
far as
support
us,
me if
if
I
you
don't have no
saying-
baby.
Right.
Or y'all
Yeah.
going to still support her if she has a baby?
If you're saying like, do we feel support as men? Like,
No, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, can y'all recognize the
yeah,
difference?
we can recognize the
Definitely
difference,
recognize
it.
but it's definitely like I see it, and I've always said this like this different people. Like, number one, I hate when people like all of a sudden they want to get up in front of the church and like apologize to the church or sit themselves down when they get somebody pregnant. But first of all, I'm
There's
pretty
so
sure
many
that's
other
not.
sins.
I'm not sure, and I'm pretty sure that's not the first time that you laid down with somebody. This is the first time that there's evidence, right? You got caught. There's evidence now. There's a baby. Now you want to sit yourself down. And the same with church. Like, people be so quick to sit somebody down
Jakai said he would be judged.
from, yeah, so quick to sit somebody down because they got pregnant or something. Not, bro. The rest of your praise team, the rest of your musician, the people in your church,
Like,
they out here drawing.
sexy. Yeah,
But you're making a public like example out of somebody just because the sin that they happen to do happened to come with some evidence.
Right.
So one thing too that I think is kind of crazy when it comes to supporting the church is that I'll say this, like some people don't even like women pastors. You know, if we're getting like really deep, like, and I think when it comes to the support from like towards women in the church, I think it goes right there. Because I think a lot of times people just think women can only be ushers or women can only be like hospitality people, or only do the announcements.
Because people misinterpret the Bible.
Exactly.
First of all.
Exactly. So I think like the disrespect and the disconnect can go like way farther than the streets, way farther than like just the relationships, but even with like situations when it comes to the church, you know?
Do you know where the church would be if there wasn't no women? First
No,
of all,
for real.
I feel like it also.
You know where we would be if there's no women?
Hello.
Nowhere.
It also
but
depends
definitely the
on.
church.
It also depends on the light that you're in the church.
Yeah, that's why when
Because-
Jakai
That's
said,
why
I'm like,
Jakai
I
said
can
what
agree
he
with
said.
Jakai.
Yes. Because if you're like us and you grew up like doing like on the usher board, singing on the praise team, directing the choir, like in some type of leadership but not really
Especially
leadership
on district
position,
levels and-
like you're held to a higher standard in
Yeah.
the church. So
Absolutely.
whether you're male or female, like it's going to hit you harder versus a lay member who just pops up
True.
pregnant.
But I think also, like, I think if we try to compare it, like, on even levels, though. So, like, we're going to use you, Jakai, because you threw yourself out there, so we're just going to use you. So, Jakai's a choir director, worship leader, musician, stuff like that. Everybody sees Jakai.
Right.
So, like, we have somebody, a woman that's, like, that equal level of, like, importance to the church and somebody in the church. There would be no doubt that girl would get a way different response than Jakai. Jakai would definitely get judged.
for sure,
And,
for sure.
Jakai gets judged for stuff way less than that already. We've seen that.
Yeah.
But I also
But,
believe
like-
it also has to do with the denomination you're in as well. Because I feel like depending on the denomination, it may not be a thing that matters sometimes.
That's touchy.
That's
But you're
another-
talking truth.
Another topic for
That's
another.
a-
hot, daddy, hot.
Indeed.
That's another episode.
Sugar bomb.
Another episode.
Wow. So all right. So going back to this whole thing with the situation. Yeah, go ahead.
So we got somebody said, Crystal said, kind of feels like the church low-key has misogynistic views on a lot of things. What y'all feel about that?
I agree, Crystal.
Yeah, sorry, we do agree.
Yeah.
Dubai.
And I'm going to sip my water on that.
Like,
I mean,
it's really
yeah,
nothing
I
we
mean-
can say about it. Like, that's just true. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
don't think like I think it's definitely true. I mean, the church can be very biased in situations. Yeah, and
Appreciate
like,
you, Kai.
And that, but like once again though, like, I think like not to bring it like far back, but like, in reality, it goes back to that same disconnect. It carries everywhere we go, not just on the streets, but also in church. Like I think it kind of goes back to that same situation. Like if African American men towards African American women, like we don't know if we respect them or not. We don't know if we should be respected. Women don't feel respected, and then men also feel like there's disrespect in that aspect too. So like, it's a lot of situations, man. Like I
Because
think.
there has always been like a hierarchy. Like there's always been a level, and the men has always been at the top. So like in the world, we have, white men,
Yeah.
and then we have white women, then we have the black men.
Yeah.
And then we have the black woman down
That's-
here. And then the church is the same way. Like we have the black men here, and then we come on down, and then the black woman gets whatever is drizzled down from the top.
Yeah.
Like,
Y'all just put y'all doilies on and sit down.
doily
sit
on.
down.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Put your
Don't
doilies on.
it,
Sit
don't
down.
it, don't
I know
it.
y'all
Pray.
didn't want me to jump on this topic earlier, but that brings me back to the fact of, with the support, do y'all feel more supported by other races and other cultures more than you do your
Christy,
own?
I'm gonna get my water again because
your
So-
own black women.
So you said, do I feel more supported?
Yes.
Like, I'm going off of how you said it. So more supported, like, no. Do I feel like there is a lack of support from African American women sometimes? Yeah. Yes.
See.
Do I feel like you guys support more than the other race? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no,
Y'all be looking at
yeah.
us like-
But with that same situation though, there are some women that can be very shady to African American men. So it's just like, it kind of goes like both ways. You know?
But all right. So all right.
Devil's advocate.
I no. I get you. I definitely I agree that I think y'all do a better job than us. But I think it's like two-way sided.
Two-way sided.
That's where I coined that.
A double
That's in the
meaning.
comments.
Curtis just coined that today.
Drop that in the comments. Two-way sided. Two-way sided.
Yell at the mic.
Let's get back.
Bye.
Oh, Ron's looking at me because that was too loud. It's all right. But two-way sided. Well, it goes. That's loaded. Oh my gosh. So I think a lot of it is when we're talking about like the history, like what we had to go through. It's so much stuff that came because of that. Like there's so many
right.
like hard feelings, and like we're being general, like we're not saying but there's hard feelings. There's a lot of confusion and stuff. Like when we talk about getting outside of your race, like there's this idea that white women have it all together, or they're better at nurturing in a relationship and all this thing. Like it just comes easy to them.
I don't believe that.
That's and I don't believe that. But
At
even
all.
if we were to say that, like, do you not understand like how we got to this point? Like the black family structure has been destroyed over and over and
Yeah.
over again for decades, for hundreds since slavery. Since slavery, we're going all back to
Let's
slavery.
not
It's
even
been
get
gone.
into
And
that.
it's the thing about it's most of people's faults though too. Like it's
Yeah.
not just like our families, but society as well. Like, and I think one thing that's crazy is that society will see like the worst in something and drive it till the day is done. And
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. They seen that the African American family did have struggles, which is normal, guys. It's normal for everybody to have struggles, but they see that normal idea and make it something huge. And now it's like a crazy situation. Oh, like black men can't have jobs, or if like black men and black women can't do anything together. They only have like babies that are like can't be married. Like all these stereotypes, and that just comes from society. And like I think we have to find ways to change that. So I guess one question that we had too would be like, how do you think we can be healed from this situation?
Doing what we're doing now.
I agree, Mal.
Great example.
Absolutely.
Literally
Let's
sitting
start.
down and talking about the problems that we have in our community.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I'm
Communication, that's big.
gonna be honest. It's gonna take time because this ain't
It's definitely
something.
gonna take
This
time.
ain't something that
We
just
have
can
to change
be.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
We have to change the way
What-
we see things out in the world, what we see on TV. Like all
way
of it
we
has to
were
be changed.
raised.
The way we were raised.
Because
Exactly.
this is a bit. This is. I'm telling you, this is gonna be a really ugly scar once the Band-Aid is really moved.
But
from
we also
this.
have to look at it as not looking at it as the stereotype of us
Yeah.
just arguing and stuff. Sometimes, okay, we're very animated.
But honestly, the reason I'm saying that, and I guess I'm playing the devil's advocate, because that's easier said than done. Because where we have this mindset, a lot of men and women don't have this mindset. They have the mindset that was set before them.
I love that. Therapy. All right.
You're talking,
Therapy.
LeBron. You've been talking this
I can
whole
be like-
live too. I want you to know that you've been
Therapy.
Yes,
talking.
thank you, whoever
coming
knows
for
what
this.
that is.
I agree with that because even for
Psychologist.
me as a woman, as a black woman, like my father said to me the other day, I had a dream that you married a white man, and I cracked up laughing because I said, I'll see that. but it's because of the preconceived things that are in my mind, and the reason why I don't see it is not just because, one, I feel like, are there going to be cultural differences that are going to clash in me raising my children,
Yeah.
in the way that I like my food season, like different things. Not saying y'all don't season y'all food.
Your outlook on life.
But
like,
yeah, outlook on life, and then even as
Adobo's good.
even as an apostolic
Oh, God.
woman, like, do y'all look at, if I'm shouting, is y'all gonna look at me crazy? Like, so for me,
I'm
it's
still
a
gonna
lot
dance.
of different factors.
Exactly.
for-
Right. So, so for me, I was gonna go straight. Like, I think that the root of everything, outside of having that relationship with God, is literally a black family. Like, black love, black support. Like, it literally starts for me right there. So, like Mal said, having this conversation, like, we need to be open enough to have these conversations, and then make it our responsibility to shift the narrative. Like, we can't sit around and wait and be like, somebody else got to change it, or somebody else got to change it, or the next generation is going to change it. Like, we have to make it our responsibility right now to shift it. Like, so I think it starts with us. Like, so we want to raise our family a certain way, we want to raise our kids a certain way. I feel like that's how the cycle breaks. Like, that's how we start a different cycle for generations moving, because like you said, people are hurt. Like, people are damaged and people are hurt. So, Levon, yes, therapy. Take your kids to therapy. Go to therapy for yourself. Have family counseling.
Listen.
Like, do all that. Like, there is so many children. Like, Mal, because we both work in the school. Like, elementary, and they have loss. They have experienced loss
Listen.
already.
Early.
Like, and these kids are hurt. And I'm like, y'all know that y'all can take your kids to therapy because their brother died. Like, you know what I mean? Like, their dad passed away. Like, that's something that they need to heal through. Like, most of them kids think that it's like a norm. You know what I mean? Like, they start realizing that
Made it
that
too
life.
normal.
Yeah, we
And I'm
made
a-
it like we made it normal.
And can I get I'll take it a step further. Like I also think another way we could shift this too is like becoming those things that they weren't for us. I'm currently trying to be a therapist. You know,
Facts.
you
Me too.
you never see black
Yes,
therapists.
take up those spaces,
Barely.
y'all.
And
Take
I think
up
like
the
if we
spaces.
can show these young men and young women, young African American men, African American women that like, yo, we did it. Like they can be that person who experienced loss and like say, hey, I got through it, and you can be just like me.
And not a YouTuber.
Yeah, and not a YouTuber. Like I'm just saying, like we have to. Like, I
No.
think like
Be
that.
real.
What
Be
Shan
real with your kids.
what Shan was saying was big. Like it does start with us. And I feel like it
OnlyFans.
starts with us. Like not just it starts with us dealing with a lot of things. Because one, we're gonna have backlash. We're gonna have people not understand what we're doing. We're gonna have people who are disrespectful to our culture just because I'm the minority in the situation. Like dog, at my job, I'm telling you. Like, and they already know that we had this conversation before, so I'm not like, it's cool. We had a conversation before, so it's just like, I think there comes a time that we have to be that thing and stand up, and it takes time. You know, I can't be a therapist like tomorrow in a sense, but in reality, like when I get there, we'll get there, and I'll bring more people. Tahim's doing the same thing. Mal's doing the same thing. Kurt's doing the same thing. Ron, Jared doing the same thing. All of these ladies are doing the same thing. We're being
appreciate y'all.
that light.
Communication leads to no entanglement.
All right, oh my gosh. But honestly, I think even though it was a question for the ladies, as far as like what are some things we can do to fix this, I think a lot of that weight really just gotta be on us as as men and brothers.
Absolutely.
Like we need to be more vocal.
We need to keep each other in check.
Not even the households.
Keep
we
each
need
other in
we
check.
need to keep each other in
Oh
check.
yeah, have each other accountable. Y'all do.
Always.
As far as like having these conversations with other black men, like y'all already know.
Yeah,
You already
right,
know
right.
because
But
we
like-
all know them type of guys. Like we hear it all the time. I feel like I'm the type of person that does that. I try to be outspoken, but there's more that I can do as well. Like so, I feel like the more that we as men like come together and just keep having these conversations with each other and like holding each other accountable, like talk to our brothers like, yo, that's not cool. First of all,
Yo.
Especially
That's
the
not
other
real.
brothers.
That's where it starts.
your view on black women is wrong. Like just flat out saying that to some like just be blunt, like you're wrong. But we have to have these conversations and
It goes into
That's true.
being honest with ourselves, honest with each other, and also breaking those toxic cycles. That's a whole different conversation for a whole different
Which
day.
we'll get into another
But them
time.
toxic cycles are real, because like in reality, we can try to talk to our brothers, and they say, all right, well, you know, oh, you just a young boy, you don't understand, or whatever. But because I'm right about it, like, no, you shouldn't be thinking these ways about your African American women, bro. Like, you came from African American women.
That's the part that holds.
You like
came
come
from
on,
and
Come
your
on,
mamas
bro.
be black.
right?
But if we want to be
Right.
honest, a lot of relationships aren't always perfect between the son and the mother, or a mother and
Say
her
again?
daughter. I say relationships aren't always perfect, like 'cause sometimes parents can be toxic too. So if we're
that's
looking
good.
about our influences and the environment that we're growing up in, you know, it's not always perfect either. So I
The
think
traumas,
sometimes stuff,
a lot of traumas have caused us to be here. Like I'm gonna keep driving this into the ground. It has started since slavery,
It-
and it's not.
yeah,
not
I
everything is
agree,
just now.
Curtis.
It's not just because of the reality TV, which I still hate too.
Yo,
but
Levon
like,
Howard is on it right now.
I'm
yo.
about to be your
Get
friend,
rid of
Lamar.
emotional
Addressing youth trauma
vampires.
now instead of carrying it into adulthood. We had a whole episode about that. We could talk about it again.
Yes,
We
we
will.
did.
Trust me, it was crazy. Like it's
She said, I think she said it as well. Like we have to start teaching our children now.
yes, yeah.
absolutely.
So when they do grow up, they can. It's passed on. Like the last generation dropped the ball. I'm sorry, I did, but like it's up to us to pick the ball back up and give it to the next generation.
Exactly.
This is all. It's a race. It's a track. It's a relay race. Like we got to give the baton to the next person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a village. It does take a village.
does
We
take a
can't, can't
village.
just be Malachi. They gotta
And
be
it-
me team.
And there can't be no
everybody.
competition, y'all. Like
No competition.
sometimes I feel like there's a competition between
It's a
black
whole
women
nother-
and black
that is a
men.
whole
Absolutely.
Another.
Oh, hold on, topic.
No,
Okay, but
but
then, yeah,
no,
we
no,
got to do it as
no,
a whole,
we there,
guy,
we
as
there.
a whole.
There be competition with black men, like
Yeah,
even having these
yeah.
conversations. I feel like some black men they use these conversations as like bait to like up themselves.
Yes.
Steve Harvey, but like.
Oh, sweet.
He said, don't drop names.
His disdain for Steve Harvey cracks me up every time.
Like-
I call y'all.
He said, don't drop
I'm real
But no,
sweet.
like also like in us having these conversations, first of all, not everything needs to be publicized either.
Right.
So like that's one thing. Like not every conversation amongst black people needs to be for everybody, because especially if you're not black, you don't need to be in a conversation where we spewing out our problems and trying to get through it.
We can talk about that.
agree.
The
can.
competition, for real, for real. We can talk
yeah.
about that a little bit if y'all want to.
That
So what y'all
competition
think?
stuff is real. Like you know what Kurt was saying, talking about how like the stats say that like African American women are like consistently doing anything, like graduating from colleges, all the other stuff, and then we go back to what we were talking about earlier. African American men just feel like we don't like reach the thing, and then when we try to reach that situation, it becomes a competition because we're always like as men we can be very prideful.
Very.
Very prideful, and we're ready to just go in. We're ready to just like talk about situations. We're ready to like just bounce everybody else down. And the problem with that though is that as African American men, like because we get to a place, we automatically think that someone else is always below us, and then that person is terrible because they're below us.
Exactly.
Like that's not like that is not okay.
And
Like, that's
instead of
not-
turning
that's
each other
not
down,
good.
we should build each other up.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm gonna speak on something too. I feel like a lot of times with African American women, which I am very happy to see in our group that I see they grind for what they want. And a lot of times I'll say with African American men, I'm gonna be honest, we try to take the easy way out. So instead of getting a real job, we'll go sell drugs because we know that that's a quick way to make some bread. And
Or we'll just be a musician on Sundays.
or be a musician on Sunday mornings.
Musician on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, we're just a musician on Sundays.
And like,
y'all
like,
killing me. With
honestly, no, but I'm serious.
Seven sources
But
of income, guys.
that's crazy though, because then we take that and we're like, yo, like we look at like our women that are with us and like they're really like holding us down, and we're like, oh well, why are y'all acting like this and acting like that? Because they basically see like, yo, like you just are really okay with just making that go content with that. While I'm grinding and I'm trying to, you know, make myself better for me, for the kids I want to have or do have, while you're just making
You're
money.
build an
off of it.
empire and you just
Yeah, like you can't have that mindset. Like that's not. It's yeah.
So from that, I have a question. I know I watch Steve Harvey a lot.
Tag.
I know.
I got his books at home too, Christy. I'm not mad at you.
So everybody say he got church, but he talked about how when men don't feel ready, they don't do the whole, and this is a whole nother, I know I'm going off topic, but when men don't feel ready, it's more, that's when you don't see the men ready or rushing to be married or anything until they feel ready.
I see when
And I guess my question is that, do y'all think that's a truth? Like, if, until you feel ready, then you don't even want to have the mindset or the thought of even marriage? And does the women talking about having children scare you?
All right. So your first half, all right, I said
Thank
that
you,
earlier.
Kristen. That's an awesome
I
question
know
to
you talk
ask.
because I saw the episode. I said that earlier. Was like a lot of men like a lot of it has to do with like insecurities that we have and stuff like that. But also like naturally, we want to be like providers. And if we feel like we're not in a position to provide for our wife, like not just like saying that, oh, we have to make more money than you or something like that. It's not that, but like if we feel like we can't bring what we feel like you deserve to the table, we gonna hold off. Like we don't want to be in that position because that hurts. That's a hurt piece to like to go through. Like I can't take care of my woman. Like that's a hurt.
And that's where I say that's
Did you hear the part where you said, oh, sorry, but the part that you said where we think that y'all deserve. So y'all haven't even asked her what
I
she
heard that.
wants or what she feel like
That's
she
why I
deserves.
paused when I said it.
All right,
But
awesome.
like,
Just making sure.
there are some guys out here that actually do ask and say like, hey, babe, like, what do you really like? What are you trying to do for this? Like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And like, when they give us the answer, cool. Let me try to work and make this thing figure out. You know what I mean? Like, I think some people are actually doing the right thing. It's just that it is like it can be intimidating because it's like we want to make sure that we have everything set. And I think one thing is that it goes back to that same generational situation. Like once, like I don't think anything's going to be set. Like I don't think it's really possible to have a set mindset because mindsets are not set. You know what I mean? Like it's just
You're growing every day.
Every day.
Things are changing every day.
Everything changes every day. So it's just like I don't know. I feel like because like there's no cap. or,
Ooh,
like, no
Jakai is
filler.
on it. Jakai's on it.
Jakai's
on it.
Eat a
Men have a
hot
financial clock, women have a biological
Absolutely.
clock.
Coming from one of the old ones in the
Absolutely.
room.
I mean,
Jakai, you a pastor for real.
I feel like I got a little bit biological because I definitely want to be like walking with the young boys behind me, like.
But no,
Yo,
I want the kids and all that stuff too, but like
Yeah.
first and foremost, like as much as I want to have a family and all that stuff, I don't want that more than I want to be able to take care of a family.
Exactly.
I
Like
agree,
that's
Kurt.
first and
I agree.
foremost. Like I see people struggling. Like even in my life, like I said, I went through all different types of family structures. I had the family where we was making it, and I had family who wasn't making it sometimes. So I've seen it all. Like I don't want to put that through I want put my family through that if I don't have to.
Intentionally, right.
Yeah. So if I know like I'm not ready yet, like for me, it's not a big deal to say, let me just hold off until like let me just keep working. As long as you're working though, like.
That's what I was gonna say too. I feel like a lot of times, we as men, because we're not ready, we feel like we have to get ready, and that's where stupid decisions come in. Like that's when we make dumb decisions. Which, when I say, goes back to, okay, well, let me just go ahead and do this drop, okay, because I know I need to get this certain amount to do this certain thing, and I'm gonna do it one time. Then that one time turns into another time, and another time, and then you're stuck. So then it's like, okay, well, now I have to deal with, with this too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's.
You make your own stumbling block.
It's a lot. It's a pressure. It's a lot
Yeah,
of pressure.
Jakai mentioned how it said that's a generational curse. That is a real.
We not gonna get into that.
thing. Like, that's a
We're not
real-
gonna do it.
Y'all missed that episode.
You missed the episode.
So
Go
can I
back.
say-
2 episodes ago.
Can can we all basically like agree that some of, am I not? Can y'all hear me now? Test.
Good.
Gotcha.
Can we all like agree that like there's just in general there's a lot of traumas that we all have to work out that have caused us to get to these places where we're insecure about
Yeah. Oh, for
families
sure.
or insecure about
Definitely.
men, any of that stuff like.
We are one big wrinkled shirt that need to be ironed.
We are a family.
Because I think even when we talked about earlier, I feel like if that's a goal that you and your partner has talked about or communicated, then I feel like that's when a woman can be a help and not be like just taking over.
Yo,
Kai, you was waiting
yo,
on this
Kai,
episode.
Yeah,
Yo,
he's in
For real.
people, they act like that's true love.
Right, and
Like
it's
they
not.
act like
Because
struggling
what?
is true love.
But what I was about to say though, I know we have grew up looking at struggle love and somehow we have glorified it.
No.
But if we think about grandparents or great great grandparents, like I know a lot of families that grew up like 8 kids, only the dad was working, and somehow they made it through. Like with, and they were making way less than what we trying to make now. So I'm trying to figure out is like, did we set a standard that we feel like we need to have a family? Because I don't think.
You also have to keep it in consideration, but I mean, maybe like the cost of living was probably cheaper.
Oh,
back
it
then.
was absolutely everything was cheaper. Everything was cheaper.
but they were
But I'm just saying they were shit.
Well,
They were still struggling, right? They were still struggling. Like homes wasn't as luxurious as they are now. Cars wasn't like that. Like people wasn't worrying about buying the most expensive clothes. Like a lot of stuff have changed as far as priorities. So I do agree with what Jakai said though. I'm not trying to live paycheck to paycheck with no family, which is why I'm 30 and don't have no kids, y'all. But you know that's a different topic. Y'all just keep me in your prayers, okay?
To be honest,
But when you've
Arnie,
been there, like you said, it's not always like, it's not that, it maybe our expectations are too
Like are we
high.
glorifying something?
But the thing
that
is, like,
is
when we've
unrealistic?
all been there, like, we also, like, we don't want to settle for that. We've seen that. We've been there. We know how that made us feel. We saw how that affected us. Like, we don't want to just keep pushing that down. Like Jakai said, like, that paycheck to paycheck family is a generational curse as well.
Baby
And
girl, listen.
I want to break that.
Come
Oh,
on,
I wanna
Kai.
build.
Like,
Come on,
I
Kai.
may not always go about it the right way. Maybe I'm doing things
Yo, Kai
that
is
may be
talking.
toxic, but like for
Kai
me,
is
like,
talking. Kai is
that's,
talking.
That's a
Yo,
that's
for
a
that-
curse.
Jakai is talking.
Yo, Jakai
Jakai is
definitely-
talking.
Jakai definitely in the house.
Let me go
because,
ahead
like,
and say
that's a real thing. Like he said like basically that's cultural. White families are set up to be able to provide for their families even before they get married.
Yes.
Credits.
Yes, they already have the
Credit.
credit done, and the wedding is paid
Credit.
for,
Savings.
and the parents are buying the first home. Like that's already
The
done and set up
first
for everything.
home is
But I
already
mean,
set
say
up.
for that,
And it-
I think that's the thing for women.
Stocks
If we're
and
talking
bonds.
about the mindset of a woman, because we do have that biological clock. Black women, black people these days, if I be honest, are not living as long as they used to.
Very true.
So for us, it's like we want that, what we consider that fairy tale before it's too late. And
that's what I'm
so
saying, like,
it's
are we
not that we're
glorifying
trying to
something
rush
that-
y'all
Yeah, right.
to be the best man y'all can be. It's just hurry up, cause I'm getting old and it's gonna be cobwebs in my uterus
Honey, we getting
before
old.
the time is over.
Cobwebs and
Can y'all mute her mic?
Hello, lights.
But no, I hear you. I hear you on that.
that's big. Like who wants to struggle, man? Like I don't think like
Nobody
I think-
does.
But like I said, like Jakai was saying, that it is a generational thing.
No,
where
let me
we
not
just
say
get-
nobody does,
No,
because
yeah, some people
really
do
glorify
because-
the struggle of like coming up together.
Exactly.
And, you
They
know,
think-
my
they think
rider
that's
died.
Or
We
some
got it from
people
the
actually
muscle
just-
and the mud, all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
Muscle
Like,
in the mud.
Some people can just simply be comfortable with that. Some people like that kind of life. That's okay for them.
Yeah.
But like I feel like you also can't like like try to hit somebody else if that's not okay for them.
Right.
Like I get it.
Yeah.
My family members, like y'all went through that and y'all made it and y'all have a happy family. Like
I love it.
cool.
But-
I don't want that for me though.
No, for real.
I
yeah,
don't
because
want that for
sometimes
my
you know
kids.
happiness is more than financial. So I don't.
I mean, but I think the financial, like Joe Shannon, that's very true. I just think financial thing is like not the way the money doesn't make the world go around, but it kind of does
It
mean a
kinda
huge
does.
thing. Like I want to make sure that my kids can go to a good school. I want to make sure my kids can live in a good house.
Facts.
You know, make sure that they all have their own rooms with ACs in their rooms. Like that's just something that I want to do.
Facts.
Like,
not the-
personally.
And
not
that's
the
your
window
personal,
AC.
right?
Not the
Right.
window AC.
Exactly, personally, and that's a real thing. Like,
Sexual aid.
like, dog, I want a fence, and the picket fence don't gotta be with Tom Sawyer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the picket fence don't gotta be like the rich people don't have to be like some like you know, have a specific look. You know, we're here, we can do those things, and we can be financially okay. But I think a lot of times African American people try to value relationship more than like the idea of being like stable, and that's a real situation that I think is crazy. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Unfortunately, like, we definitely got to wrap it up now.
Yeah, I agree.
But
This
like
was
I
good
said,
though.
listen, if I cook for y'all again, y'all coming out, right?
Hey, listen, you know I'm there if it's food there. I don't know about that.
I'm hoping that y'all was saying y'all would come anyway, because I ain't cooking again.
Oh, bring the
Hello.
food, Curtis. Bring the food.
Hello.
It depends on what you
Lights.
cook.
What'd you say?
It depends on what you cook.
Yeah. But anyway. But no, for real though, I think we had like,
Hey yo, I think we should do this more.
we should do this again, because
Yeah.
we got feedback and we got interaction today.
Exactly.
I think this
Y'all
should
must
definitely
not
be-
like
I
them
think we should
videos.
definitely
To be
do like a
honest,
part
they
two. We should definitely do a part 2 and definitely have Jakai Holmes on this
Yes,
joint as well.
yes,
Like,
all the questions.
Jakai, you're coming on the
Thank you
show.
for all the
and
hearts, yo.
Levon.
Also, can I say, hey, Ron, can you tag our email address as well? Can you pin the email?
That's facts.
You guys, if you have any suggestions, I see some of y'all left some in the comments, but any suggestions that you have for the show, what we
us
can
know.
do better,
Yeah.
what we can stop doing, with some topics we can talk about, something that's interesting y'all, please hit up our email,
Yeah.
or you can direct message any one of us, any one of the bros around here,
Yeah, we'll
and
definitely
we'll get
answer
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go,
Yo.
and go back to y'all church and talk to y'all youth. Y'all talk to y'all youth presidents, y'all youth
Stuff.
pastors.
Are you
talk to y'all
president?
senior
Are
pastors.
you president in it?
Yo,
So
take this back to y'all. Take this back to your churches,
Yeah.
and we can have a whole conversation here. We are not afraid to talk about this stuff, man. Like, this is what Let's Talk About's about. We're about trying to get these
afraid.
conversations out here and see the real ideas from real people, not everyday people. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. So we're gonna save this live, right?
Yes, we're
and y'all
definitely
can
gonna
go back and watch this live,
And
okay?
share it
Go back
as
and watch
well.
the live. Share it again.
Yep.
Like it again.
Comment.
Love it always.
watch it while you at work.
Love and like and love.
I just want to say thank y'all
Yeah,
for the
bye-bye.
invitation.
Yes.
Yeah,
thank
because
you
y'all
for
didn't
Oh,
have,
yes.
y'all
Thank
didn't
you
have
guys
to
for
get
the invitation.
the woman's perspective, but this was dope.
We had to. No,
We kind of had to.
we can't have this conversation without y'all thoughts and y'all
And that's
ideas.
another stereotype. We're gonna leave that
Yeah,
there.
so we definitely appreciate y'all coming out and
Yeah.
rocking with us.
Always.
On a Tuesday night. It's
Right,
late.
like y'all
It's-
don't got
it's
work
late.
tomorrow.
Some of us
It's
got
late.
homework assignments that's due in a little bit. So.
Work.
But no, for real, we appreciate everybody that tuned in today. We want to like not just keep like wrapping this up for 20 minutes. So we appreciate y'all. We're gonna get out of here.
We appreciate
This
you.
is Let's Talk About It.
Let's
Talk.
talk about
Talk
it.
about
Bye.
it.
Dubai.
The ladies, thank you for coming, Dubai.
So yeah, thank y'all.
See y'all later.
We'll do this again. We'll let y'all know when we do
Yes,
this
sir.
again.
We'll go live again for sure.
You can be.